Okay, hello and welcome to another Water Cooler Wednesday. Today we're going to be discussing the SBF fraud trial and kind of the developments that have happened throughout the course of the first 10 days, I believe it's been so far. So without further ado, let's kind of go through some of the major. I think we had a previous discussion before where we were talking about how we thought there was going to be some significant kind of bombshell revelations coming out of this with all of the executives that are testifying against SBF. This includes his on-again, off-again girlfriend, Caroline Ellison, and some of his co-founders, Gary Wang, Nishad Singh, among other people like Zach Prince, who was the former CEO of BlockFi, who had a lot of loans and lines of credit between themselves and FTX. So to kind of jump right into it, I'll start with, I guess, Caroline Ellison, because she was kind of earlier on in the trial, it was a big bombshell from her where she stated that SBF specifically directed her to commit fraud. So this was a kind of a big revelation there. This was specifically towards the fraud against the FTX customers. So her testimony was focused mainly on that. And so I think she was quoted elsewhere saying that she felt constantly pressured to do these things, and she felt bad about misleading her employees as well. So a common theme among the witnesses was that they felt remorse for what they had done, and or it seemed that they felt remorse. They were kind of highlighting in their testimony that they felt remorse for what they had done. Next person coming up is Gary Wang. So he was one of the co-founders of FTX and Alameda. He lived with SBF in the Bahamas, and he pleaded guilty to charges and agreed to testify against SBF. So he claimed that he committed financial crimes with SBF, who directed him to modify FTX's software code to allow Alameda, an affiliated entity, so they were like a sister company, there was no arm's length there, to withdraw unlimited funds from FTX. Wang admitted that they lied about this to the public. So this included lending customer funds that were specifically outlined in the terms of first service as not available for lending. So you could participate in their lending programs and earn a yield, but if you didn't opt into that, you never granted them the ability to lend out your money. And so they were violating their own terms of service by doing some of this stuff when the hole got big enough. So that was something that we kind of knew already, but we got it confirmed from the horse's mouth. So one other thing, so for Gary Wang, those were the major things that we saw there. As far as Nishad Singh goes, he alleged that SBF was constantly misusing funds. So this included, for personal use, for political use, for just investments that were just either ill-advised or just overly ambitious. I think there was one story where he attended some Super Bowl party, and then the next day was had this massive idea for an investment in I forget the company off the top of my head, but there was a massive investment that came out of this because there was just like all these very influential people at this party. So just basically saying that he was he kind of loved the limelight, and part of Nishad Singh's testimony as well included a discussion about when they went to rent their house in the Bahamas. They initially looked at something that was more modest, and there was people on the team that were kind of like looking for that, didn't really want the ostentatious nature of this big penthouse suite, but that SBF really loved views and really was really pushing for that. So he kind of highlighted the overspending that SBF had, extravagant spending, which eventually soared to over $1.13 billion. So this was all despite knowing that they had a hole in their balance sheet already. This was after SBF had knowledge of the $8 billion hole in Alameda's balance sheet, which was funded in part by FTX. So And according to Nishad Singh as well, SBF insisted on purchasing a $35 million penthouse in the Bahamas for himself and his lieutenants, even though a cheaper option had been considered. So, yeah, it just was like each of the people within his inner circle had kind of unique focuses of their testimony, and it's been extremely effective so far by the prosecution. And then finally, another last person I wanted to highlight real quick was Zach Prince, who is the ex-CEO of the now bankrupt BlockFi. He testified about the downfall of his firm, and I think one of the biggest things here was the stark contrast between the policies for reviewing investments and loans and lines of credit and things like that with BlockFi versus what was happening at FTX. FTX was kind of just like fly by night, like sign some things. They reportedly would lose and find hundreds of millions of dollars that they didn't realize they had, and all these other things. So Zach Prince really highlighted the fact that this cascade, what happened at FTX spilled over into businesses outside of them and caused many other businesses in the industry to go bankrupt, just simply because of the scale of what was going on here. So really was an interesting testimony here. When BlockFi started to realize that they might be insolvent, they sought a $400 million line of credit and expressed interest in owning. FTX considered merging with BlockFi and extended a $400 million line of credit, and also expressed interest in buying out BlockFi. So. Between July and November 2022, which was when the fallout here happened with Binance and then the bankruptcy filing of FTX, BlockFi lent Alameda an additional $850 million. So there just was a lot of loans going back and forth. At the time, BlockFi had limited information, and that was part of the testimony as well, saying that if he had been aware that Alameda and FTX were using customer funds, he would not, they likely would not have proceeded, just because they don't do business like that. That's what he was saying. So those were kind of the major highlights so far. Just wanted to kind of hear from you guys to see if there's any thoughts on this. I had an interesting comment from Greg O'Brien, who the CEO of Anomaly CPAs. He was saying, imagine like the tax charges here as well, because I'm sure that there was, underreporting or kind of, as far as the tax filings go, I'm sure there's a lot to be uncovered there as well. So that's an interesting side of this too.
I wonder if, I hadn't thought about this till today, but can he switch his plea to guilty during the trial and just, throw in the towel and hope they have mercy because he's confessing to his sins? Hope he gets 30 instead of 40.
I think he's looking to talk his way out of this. They're saying that he's like he's seeking his Adderall to be like given back to him so that he can testify. Basically, they're like he stated that he would like to testify, but that he needs his Adderall in order to do so. So we'll see how that works out. Yeah, I think it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how this unfolds, and I'm sure that there's some tax stuff to unwind here as well.
I don't think there was but I don't think there was an investigation by any tax agencies.
No, right? There hasn't been, but I'm sure that there is some stuff to uncover there. I wonder how much they'll pursue it with them already in bankruptcy and them distributing funds back to creditors. I wonder how much they would kind of like eat up in tax revenue, going after additional tax revenue, especially because some of the political donations that they gave out as a company were returned as well. So there'd be some additional tax implications there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been an interesting one to follow. And one key witness that has been absent so far is Sam Trabucco, who I'm hoping that he's one of the unidentified witnesses that testifies as well, because he left the company a few months before all this happened. So be interesting to get his take, because he was the co-CEO with Caroline Ellison of Alameda. So he surely has some interesting insights, but he's been traveling on his yacht called Soak My Deck, and has been off Twitter and off of any social media. So no one's heard from him in a very long time. So I'm wondering what he's doing, what he's up to, and if we're going to hear or discover anything about him in the course of this trial as well. No doubtedly using customer funds or some sort of funds from FTX to purchase that yacht. So it's a shame that he's on the run and not coming under the scrutiny that he deserves. But we'll see.
Yeah.
It seems interesting that a lot of these folks are testifying now about because it was odd. Some of the stuff that I had read were people who didn't necessarily, like, it wasn't really their job to kind of worry about like the corporate governance and like whether or not they were screwing people over. They were just like coders, or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were noticing and questioning some of the decisions that were being made. But did anybody quit like in the middle of this and kind of like drop the bomb on?
Yeah, I mean, there was Sam Trabucco is the only real notable one. I think he left in August of 2022. But I mean, I think there might have been another person who left early. Welcome, Christian. How you doing, man? You got your little one with you?
I do, man. She's like, I don't know, all of a sudden not happy. She was okay, and then I jumped on the call, and now she's not happy.
Well, welcome.
Congrats on your little one, by the way, of course.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I mean, I think that with Sam Trabucco, that he's the kind of most notable one, and that's why it's kind of like it was like only months. It was like maybe 2 or 3 months before all this unwound. So kind of a suspicious time to leave, and I think that he probably kind of saw maybe the writing on the wall to a certain degree, because I think at that point the hole in the balance sheet was around $8 billion. By December, I think it was $13 billion. I might be getting those figures slightly wrong, but I know that in December it was close to $13 billion. So a massive hole. And if you're CEO of a place and have been quiet quitting for a little while, which is reportedly what he was doing, I think that you might start to want to find the exit or see yourself out.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. We'll see how this plays out. I think that, the biggest surprises I think have already come out at this point, because we've heard from those people that were so close to him, Caroline Ellison and his co-founders. But yeah, maybe we'll find something else out in the coming weeks that shocks us to the core some more. So those are the kind of main things I wanted to highlight here. If anyone else has any other thoughts on this, where you see this might be going, what direction it's going in, do you think more of these charges are gonna stick? Because I think last time we were saying that the easiest ones to prove would be not the conspiracy ones, but the wire fraud charges. I think those are the most likely to stick. But now that we're hearing that Caroline Ellison is specifically saying that she was directed to commit fraud against FTX customers, or the loan, like for the loans as well, they were misrepresenting their balance sheet. So some of those charges might stick now. I think the over under is getting more and more complicated as the trial goes on.
I think we were at 40 last time.
Yeah, we're at 40. I think I think we're going to add a couple decades to that. Maybe it's 60.
Nah, I'm still in the 40s. I'm still in the 40s.
Yeah.
Dude, a hell of a deal that Caroline and the others must be getting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
flip. And of course, if they can't get SBF to participate and sort of like, start giving up some people or some info or something, and it's like, all right, man, we got everyone else is gonna flip on you then. Sorry, like you're going down. And they know how to do it.
If he could have pled guilty and got like 20, 25, he should have done it. Like that's a no-brainer to me.
Yeah.
But 20 years, that's all you got to do. Not all, but I mean, it's not going to get better. It's not going to be better. It can only be.
They could be sending you brochures to your federal institution. What's your choices?
Where is he now?
He was in Brooklyn earlier on in the trial. Oh, I'm not sure if he's still there.
That's where like Frank Lucas was back in the day,
It's like notoriously bad conditions there, apparently. Like health code violations and stuff. I think he has to pay like $3.50 for a peanut butter sandwich because he's vegan. So he's eating peanut butter sandwiches. But for him, he was whining about only having $100K in his bank account recently.
Well, when the trial's over, he'll end up at like one of those, low security places, most likely, like Otisville somewhere where it's with a white collar criminals go.
Well, I think there was a reason why he went to a higher security because he was threatening witnesses, or he was like trying to intimidate witnesses. So that's why he's where he's at.
Oh,
so
right.
Depending on how this all plays out,
he could that too. I heard that, and I was like, I didn't read it. I didn't read the article, but I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like, what did he actually do though?
He released Caroline Ellison's diary. He published, and so he was like, releasing some of her private like notes and her diary, and so they kind of interpreted that as trying to intimidate the witness. So that's why he is where he is. But we'll see how. I mean, if he keeps pulling shit like that, he might end up in a higher security place just because he doesn't know when to shut his mouth.
They look at your age too when they determine where you're going, and he's young. So like to get into the low security, it's like over 40 is less of a risk. Things like that. So he's maybe he'll end up somewhere that really sucks.
I mean, he deserves it. I don't know if he, we'll see. Well, so those are the main kind of points that I wanted to hit. I think one of the things that was nice to see, I guess, was that like people like Dashad Singh really seemed like they were like remorseful, and he understood that it, like what he did had a huge impact on people, and he was like, along the way advocating for them to not spend money as exorbitantly as they were. But who knows if that's just a show.
He's still expected to get time though, right? Like him and the girlfriend are all going to get some time too.
I believe so, but I think it's a much reduced sentence. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I think they do probably have to do time, but I'm not exactly sure about that. Let me just check.
I mean, it's probably at the discretion of the judge, right? At the end of this thing, but I would expect that they don't get off scot-free.
So she has $250,000 bail, surrender of travel documents, and forfeiture of assets. So that's what her plea agreement was. Right. For now. Yeah. So the plea agreement would waive Ellison of any charges except criminal tax violations, provided she fully cooperates with the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Oh, wow.
So, assuming she was... So that's where we might see some of these tax charge discussions coming up later.
They're basically telling the IRS to pick it up.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm sure the IRS has somebody in their office taking notes during all of these trials.
I mean, they probably have an SBF in the IRS,
Yeah, I think that they were in the earlier reports from the bankruptcy filings by John J. Ray III. He was saying that they were purchasing assets like real estate with company funds, but in the names of the executives. So there might be some, they probably then, as a result, were trying to deduct it on FTX's books, and those people didn't report those assets personally, I'm guessing, or there's a chance of that. So that would be an easy kind of slam dunk, low-hanging fruit type of thing. So we'll see. Anyways, well, that's all I had. Thank you guys for joining.